So what happens when three absolute giants, we're talking Russia, India, and China, try to team up and reshape global power? Well, there's this idea, a strategic triangle called RIC, that was born back in the 90s to do just that, to counter a unipolar world. And now, after years of being pretty much silent, it looks like it might be making a quiet comeback.
So let's really get into it. From its post-Cold War vision all the way to today's revival talks, does this group actually matter, or is it all just diplomatic theater? We're going to break down exactly where the idea came from, why it stalled out, and what a comeback could actually mean in a world that's already crowded with acronyms like BRICS and the SCO.
You know, the whole idea of RIC really traces back to one guy, the former Russian foreign minister Yevgeny Primakov. Think about it. It's the late 1990s, the Soviet Union is gone, and the US is pretty much the world's only superpower. Primakov comes up with this new playbook for Russia to stay in the game. His big idea? Create a strategic triangle to push back against a world dominated by one power and instead promote a world with many.
And look, this wasn't just some vague concept, it was a really clear blueprint. The goals were to build a world with multiple centers of power, to directly oppose NATO's expansion, and to forge a powerful partnership with China. It was all designed to keep Russia right at the center of global affairs. This was, make no mistake, a direct challenge to the order that came after the Cold War.
And you've just got to appreciate the sheer ambition here. This wasn't only about balancing power. It was about uniting three massive ancient civilizations to forge an entirely new geopolitical center of gravity in Eurasia, one that was completely independent of the West.
So how did this all play out in the real world? Well, the idea gets floated in 1998, and the meetings become pretty regular by 2002. Fast forward to 2019, and things are looking up. The leaders even meet at the G20. But then, 2020 happens, and that deadly border clash in the Galwan between India and China changes everything. That one event just froze the entire project, and it really showed just how fragile this triangle actually was.
And right here, we see the fundamental problem. On paper, RIC was this perfect forum for these countries to get together and tackle big global issues. But in reality, the deep-seated mistrust between India and China over their border meant that any real strategic unity was almost always just out of reach.
As expert Happyman Jacob puts it so well, that basic lack of confidence between New Delhi and Beijing is the obstacle that just won't go away. This isn't just about a line on a map. We're talking about a profound strategic rivalry that undermines the very foundation of what a trilateral alliance is supposed to be.
Okay, so if the whole thing pretty much ground to a halt, why are we suddenly hearing all this serious talk about bringing it back? I mean, what's changed?
Well, the answer really lies in this new convergence of external pressures. For Russia, which is facing heavy Western sanctions, reviving RIC is a way to fight diplomatic isolation. For China, it's a great tool for building a coalition that challenges the West. And for all three of them, all the uncertainty over U.S. trade policies and the threat of tariffs, that's created a powerful new reason to start coordinating again.
And Russia has been incredibly direct about this. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov came right out and called for a revival, signaling that Moscow sees this as a huge priority. They are actively pushing to get these meetings back on the calendar.
India's response, though, has been much more reserved. They haven't shut the door, but New Delhi has been calling RIC a consultative format and saying any revival would have to happen at a time of mutual convenience. That kind of cautious language really highlights the delicate diplomatic dance that's going on, especially with those unresolved border issues with China still hanging in the air.
Now, if you want to understand why this is such a big deal, you just have to look at the scale. Their combined GDP and purchasing power parity, a staggering $53.9 trillion.
Together, they're home to 38% of the entire world's population.
And they account for over 1/3 of the world's total economic output. The sheer scale is just undeniable. If these three could ever truly get on the same page, the global impact would be absolutely immense.
But it's really easy to get confused here. We hear about BRICS and the SCO all the time, so where does RIC even fit in? Is it just another competitor on an already very crowded stage?
Actually, the differences are pretty clear. BRICS is a large economic bloc with formal institutions, like its own bank. The SCO is a security-focused alliance, sometimes even called the NATO of the East. RIC is something totally different. It's smaller, it's way less formal, and it's all about high-level strategic chats between just those three core players.
And this brings us to the most important point.
RIC isn't meant to replace these other groups. Think of it as the exclusive, informal engine room. It's the backstage area where the three most powerful members can get their strategies aligned before they walk out into those bigger, more crowded forums.
So, how can we tell if this revival is the real deal or if it's just a bunch of diplomatic noise? Well, here are 4 key signals to watch for. First, and this one's obvious, is a firm date actually getting set for a foreign ministers meeting. Second, listen for any softening of the language, or even better, real progress in the India-China border talks. Third, see if the acronym RIC starts popping up in joint statements from BRICS or the SCO. And finally, watch for economic action. Any serious talk of joint payment systems or de-dollarization.
But here's the ultimate test. The moment you see concrete coordination on trade or finance, you'll know the revival has gone beyond just optics and into real, tangible outcomes. That is the true dividing line between symbolism and substance.
Which leaves us with a final big question. Is this ambitious triangle, born from a post-Cold War vision and now being pushed by very modern pressures, a genuine power block in the making? Or, given the deep-seated rivalries that are right at its core, is it just destined to remain a geopolitical mirage?